And welcome everyone to Is This Game For You? And today I'm excited to have Danielle back on the channel. You've seen Danielle before. Danielle, very much, I would say, my go-to on solo gaming. So Danielle, I gotta say, first and foremost, welcome back to the channel. So happy to have you here as one of our guest conductors for 2022.
Yeah, thanks so much, Chris. I'm happy to be here. Very excited for this conversation we're going to have.
Yeah, and we are here to talk about Calico. And Calico obviously is a game that I think got on a lot of people's radar in 2022, 2021, and 2020 in particular. In some ways, some people, myself included, then fell in love with Cascadia. But these are very different games, and they'll both be covered here on the channel. We want to start with Calico as the original one, the first game, because this came out in 2020. It's actually, just for everyone to know, ranked number 8 on BGG's abstract list and 25 on their family list. And those are not small rankings, certainly. A little bit about this game, too. Design Kevin Russ, art by Beth Sobel, and publisher Flat Out Games. How many times would you say, or how often has Calico hit your table in the past year or so?
In the past year, I think I've played probably almost 10 times, if not 10 times by now. I didn't get it to the table as much as I thought I would. I have so many other games to get to, but this is definitely a popular one and one that I play mostly solo, although I did introduce it to my friends and family earlier this year to this game who also have enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, this is a game I think, again, family rank is high, abstract
Mhm.
rank is high. And I think that's really clear just off the top that we need to cover. This is a game that is beautiful. And to speak to that, I think it's important that we talk to the components in this game. These are pretty chunky pieces. I can give credit to them too, because I actually spilled coffee on a bunch of mine and they somehow dried up and do not look like they had coffee on them. So there's a miracle in that. They're really well done, chunky pieces for the base of the game, the pieces that you're actually putting into the puzzle of this game. And everything, again, artistically is gorgeous. It's not a surprise, I guess, when you talk about Beth Sobel and you talk about art and illustration, it's going to look good. But visually, this is going to grab your attention. At least that's how it was for me. I remember even walking by it, I think a table, it was even at PAX Unplugged more recently, and I saw someone playing it, and I knew it like in a half second. Oh, that's Calico, because
Mhm.
it just stands out, which I like. I think the visual slash quality components make a big difference in this day and age. I just think people are expecting it at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I love the different patterns on these components as well, and the colors. It is very eye-catching. And even if you didn't know what game it was, if you're walking by, you'd want to know what game it was. You would you would go over and find out because it is so colorful. It's got a lot of those patterns going on. The little tokens are cute. The cats are adorable. I don't know what's not to like about these components. I think what would be a step up for these components might be, I don't know if you've played Azul with like those kind of like, it feels like glass but may not be glass, but I could only imagine like the clinking on the quilt. That might be interesting.
And there are these like geek up kits that you can do to get
Oh,
that
okay.
feeling.
Oh, wow.
Because I agree with you, the components could have that feeling. The same thing that they do with geek bits from BGG for Quacks of Quedlinburg. Same kind of
Okay.
thing that have that quality that go into these boards. If you actually go and we look at this, I'll bring it back up on the screen real quick here. That is this board itself. You could see the puzzle board, just so people are aware that you're working with, is a set space. And as we get into gameplay, that's an important piece to note. You are in, you're enclosed in this area. And so that's the area you're working with, but this is a really, again, thick quality board. So the
Mhm.
quality in that board in particular, I think, comes into play, because a quality board in a game where you're going to be laying pieces within it and they're going to have to kind of be staying in there, well, this one does that. It's all, unlike, say, a game with like Carcassonne where the tiles might be moving around. You gotta, make sure. Oh, don't bump that. In this case, you're not gonna have that issue because the stuff is spinning in there really nicely. But the bottom line is gameplay is really important. And when we talk about this game, it is an abstract game, first and foremost.
Hmm.
It is abstract. Yes, there's a Calico cat involved, right? There's the Calico's name in the game, cats are involved. But at the heart of it, it's outside of the cats laying on the quilt that you're making, that's it. That's the cat component. So abstract is a fair title. Some of the other pieces in this game that we need to speak to, there's set collection.
Yep,
That's in here. You're building a hexagon grid. And it is a puzzly game, is I think the
definitely.
best way to put it. It's a puzzly game.
Exactly. Yeah. So a large part of this game is meeting some objectives, basically. So you have goal tiles, and then you have your objectives to try to lay down the tiles so that you meet those three objectives that you see currently on that board. Um, all while meeting those objectives that you see above with those three cats, and to maximize your score. So in this game, you're mostly trying to rack up points. So at the end of the game, you have the most points and win. So I would say definitely it's very puzzly because you're thinking through every turn that you put down a tile, making sure that you're not messing something up because that happens to me all the time. I put down a tile and I'm like, wait, it doesn't work there. And you only have a few tiles to choose from. So you don't get to have too many choices. You are limited to how many tiles you can pick from and lay down that tile on to make it work. So it's definitely a puzzle, but it's a fun one and it's relaxing. And the only limitation, as Chris mentioned, is the board. Like there's no time constraints unless you house rule that. So you can really take your time with it. Maybe spend all day doing it.
You and I think you may spend some time, especially that first play of this game.
Yeah.
What's important to note, and as we enlarge this, you can see a little bit better, there are certain patterns you're trying to reach, and you're actually going to get more points when you can really double down on the patterns that are on the board. So if you're able to have, say, a diverse set, three of one type and three of another type in pattern and color, you're going to get more points. And so there's a lot of ways to maximize point output, but you've got the cats on top where if you can reach the patterns, you're going to be able to have this opportunity to score points there for each of those. And it can get very competitive, very tight. It is a tight space. So I think the one thing that when people think about this game, it's tight to the point that I will say at the end, sometimes the last piece you put down doesn't help you that much. You
Yeah.
maybe don't have that a great option. So that beginning from the start of this game, you got to be thinking ahead, and you really got to be kind of strategically trying to plan ahead, plan alternative options. And that's if there's a complaint about the game that anyone I've heard has, it's that it gets at the end, I grab a piece that's not helpful to me.
Yeah.
It's not a major complaint for me personally, because ultimately I think if you have a good plan, you're going to do well, right, in this game.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah, and the solo gameplay is very easy to manage. There are some games that you have to manage a whole AI and manage your own turn, but
yep.
in this game, it's basically just the AI takes one tile away from you, and then you have to replace that tile with a new one. So that's it. That's how you manage that solo AI, if you would even call it an AI at that point. But the solo gameplay is it's just so relaxing. I just literally just play by myself, and there's no distractions really, and it's just such a fun time. And it is beat your own score. Some people may like that, some people may not. I do enjoy it because at least I know that I track all my plays and what my scores are. So if I got a 50 on one game and a 60 on the next one, then I know I've improved a little bit. And another great aspect of this game is the variability. So they have those cats at the top, and you can always swap them out to make it a little more difficult. So you may want to start off with the easy cats if you're just playing for the first time. But if you're playing your 10th or 20th game, you could use the more difficult cats, which helps with replayability.
I agree. I think that's a great point. What is the replayability of this game? The replayability is high. When I think about this game and I think about playing it, and this was just one game that I believe I don't remember if it's my wife and my myself or my son was my opponent in this one. But visually, I mean, the game obviously looks great, but the difference in each game and how it plays out, the fact that the cats are all very different and you can mix and match and have some fun with it. It really just leads itself to being played multiple times over and over, and that includes in the solo challenge. I believe that you can continue to up the ante and make it more challenging for
Hmm.
yourself when you feel like you've got a certain cat. Like, this is just easy to accomplish this all the time. I've got not a problem. I need a greater challenge. So I imagine the gameplay, even on the solo side, has a ton of replayability as well.
Definitely, yeah. And in the rule book itself, there are solo scenarios that you can play. So it definitely increases the difficulty as you move on. And I've tried the second scenario probably 4 times now, and I haven't beat it, which is a little frustrating. But
How many scenarios are there? Do you know off the top of your head?
not off the top of my head, I would probably say at least 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least 10. So very good. It's very good.
Yeah, and like I said, this game, when you look at the I'm double checking the full credits on it. The
Hmm.
solo designer was Sean Stankovic. Stanko. I want to make sure I say this correctly, but that's the solo designer. Flat Out Games published this one. It's a few other publishers, depending where. Obviously, like many other games, when you look at this game, the categories that they put it in again are abstract strategy. Animals is apparently a category in BGG, which, so
Okay.
for those who do like animals, and then puzzles. But the biggest thing here is there's set collection happening. You've got the hexes and trying to map out how are you going to connect them together, and that's the puzzly piece. And in the end, it is a fun, very replayable game. I would love, as we get into the end here, from a perspective of who is this for? Who
Mhm.
are the people you think are going to enjoy this game from your point of view?
I would say this game is very good for just about anybody. I know that's very broad, but even if you're not a cat lover, but if you enjoy, animals or pets, you would enjoy this game. You would relate to, the seeing the cats and everything. Like everyone knows what a cat is. And I think also what's interesting is, even if you have trouble seeing the colors or anything like that, there are symbols assigned to each of the colors. So this is really very accessible, and the ability to teach this game is also very easy. I was able to teach my sister, who takes a while to learn games, and she learned it on the first try and she loved it. And then from then on, it's just like this is just like the almost like what do you call it, a gateway game into
Yeah.
other more abstract games like Azul or something like that. So definitely, I think it's good for solo players first and foremost, and then families for sure. It's just like a BGG has categorized for family games. It's a top one for sure.
Yeah, I think that is fascinating that where it ranks in that category. I will say, when as you mentioned, solo players, definitely the solo players who are about the, if there is a category there, the ones who are good with competing against themselves, which many solo players I
Yes.
meet are good with. They don't necessarily
Yeah.
want the need the AI, which can be fiddly. Some ones do AI as well, other ones don't. I know, but
Hmm.
for me, this is a game I can get to the table with most people. I would say families are going to enjoy this. If you are looking for a really deep strategy game, okay, maybe this doesn't have that because there's a luck component about what's coming out, right? So
Yeah.
if you're, again, it's pretty obvious if you're a heavy gamer, this may not be it. This is not a heavy game, but it's more complicated than it looks. And for that reason, even though it is gateway in a lot of those senses, or as I like to say, a welcoming game, an introductory game to board gaming,
Hmm.
the the idea to me is that it's fun to introduce, but you're going to continue to play because it's not an easy one to master. And
Yes.
it's different every time. And that's the big thing for me. So my thoughts on this are really, in the end, I think if you're looking for something that is going to be playable across gaming groups all the way down to family, this does it. It is definitely not a heavy game, but for some, it's going to be and feel heavy. When you talk about, when I talk about my parents or something like that, this is going to feel heavier. This might be their tipping point because there
Okay.
is a ton of AP happening. You're definitely thinking, oh, what I can do here
Yeah.
and I can do here, and that sets up that. Um, not a bad thing necessarily in my mind.
Mhm. Agreed, agreed. Overall, this is definitely a winner for me in terms of solo gaming. I definitely enjoy pulling this out. It's got a very good compact table presence, I believe. So, solo games that have a huge table presence can be a little overwhelming for me. But this one for sure, it just fits on my little play mat here, and the box itself I would say is not travel size, but it could fit in a backpack, and that's all that matters.
You could take the pieces to this and make it travel size that way. You don't need to take the full. If you know I mean, they arguably it
You're
plays
right.
best with two people. I would actually
Hmm.
say. You might say solo. I say two, and
Yep.
that's just again depending how that's how I play. I do like to play another person most of the time, but it
Yeah.
plays so well with two. They say 10 plus on this. My son played this when he was 7, 8 years old. He's used to playing games, so I think you can introduce this fairly early. BGG gave it a weight of 2.22. So again,
Okay.
around the middle in terms of that complexity. But I think that's more so because of the overarching strategy. So to master it, yes, it's going to take time, but it's easy to teach. So
Hmm.
that is our final thoughts. Is this game for you, Calico? If there are other games you would like to see us cover on this channel, please let us know, whether it be a specific piece of it, solo games, multiplayer games, or ones with both. We definitely want that feedback. You can drop that in the comments. I do want to take the moment to thank Danielle for coming on. Danielle is one of our co-conductors here in 2022, so you're going to see her more on the channel, certainly talking about solo games
Hmm.
quite a bit, I'm sure, because Danielle is, again, our go-to for that topic. Danielle, thank you very much. I will say,
Of
just
course.
as we kick off the year, are there any other games you maybe are excited about or looking forward to getting more plays in 2022?
Yeah, for me specifically, I just got Final Girl. So that's a solo game that I'm really excited to get more plays in. I played it, I think, twice so far. I haven't won it yet, so definitely a challenge. But I like the aspect of the dice rolling and everything. So for sure, I'll be trying to get more plays of that. And then in terms of getting some older games into play in the new year, I really do want to get Dwellings of Eldervale back out.
Ooh.
That's a bit of a beast to get out and set up, but I will make it a goal to play at least 5 times in the new year. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, awesome. Again, you'll be seeing plenty of Danielle here on the
Mhm.
channel. We'll be back with a variety of content in the weeks to come. Thank you for coming aboard the Tabletop Express with us today. And I hope everyone has a great and wonderful weekday, whatever you're watching this. And again, we'll be back. Be on the lookout in this series as well. We are going to have, I believe, next will be either Cascadia, that was one of them, or Mandala. There was a poll that was done, and there was a three-way tie. So Mandala and Cascadia are definitely coming very soon. So be on the lookout for that, and check out our playlist where you can see all of the games we've covered in the Is This Game For You series. On that note, I will take this time to definitely say thank you, everyone, for coming aboard the Tabletop Express. And if you like what you've seen, definitely drop a subscribe and hit that bell. We definitely want you to be aware of all the live content that we do, which we will do fairly consistently on this channel. And with that said, have a great day, everybody.